We're right in the middle of our series called This or That. In this video, we're talking about comparison. You know, when we hold this in our lives next to that in someone else's life, when we compare, we often end up feeling disappointed, hopeless, frustrated, anxious, maybe motivated. Maybe sometimes we feel like we're better than others. But today, we're going to talk about one of the most powerful feelings comparison brings out of us, the feeling of jealousy. Which, speaking of jealousy, and this is the month of October, so it's Halloween, you know, trick-or-treating, candy, all those great things. When I was a kid, I was not allowed to go trick-or-treating. My parents, they had their reasons, but I wasn't able to go. And I remember in 6th grade, my school would do this big Halloween, like, dress up, come to school in your costumes, and then they'd have like this parade, they'd go around and get candy. But anybody who wasn't participating in Halloween had to go to this one room and just kind of go by themselves. And there was a few other of us, but I just remember being so jealous. And like, I want to be walking around in a costume. I want to get candy too. We got candy in that separate room, but it just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. Jealousy is this very specific type of comparison. It's what we feel when we want what someone else has. And it happens to us more than I think we even realize. When that kid in your class comes in with a new pair of name brand sneakers, but you're still rocking the ones from last season, we can get a little jealous. When your friend is so much fun that everybody wants to be around them, but you can't seem to muster up that same kind of popularity, we can get a little jealous. When the kid in small group has 2 parents living at home, but your family's separated, when the other kid gets that solo, or when your sibling gets more attention, when that girl has better clothes, or when that boy gets named team captain, we can get a little jealous. This list could go on and on and on, right? If we really think about it, jealousy can show up just about anywhere we turn. And while it may not seem like that big of a deal at first, jealousy has the potential to harm the way we see ourselves and the way we see others. For starters, jealousy can cause us to feel insecure. The more jealous we become of someone else, the more insecure and uncertain we feel about ourselves. And that insecurity can quickly lead us to becoming unhappy. Unhappy with our stuff, unhappy with our appearance, with our friend group, with our family, with our status at school. It's hard to be happy about any part of what we have or who we are when we're letting jealousy motivate the way we see it. Maybe we even end up getting angry. We're so jealous that that person has what we want, or they are the kind of way that we would like to be, that we get mad. Or maybe we don't experience a lot of jealousy when we compare ourselves to others, because we feel pretty good about our lives, right? Honestly, we might even feel better than they are. We might even feel like we deserve the things that we have, and there's a reason they don't have them. They deserve what they have. But the problem with comparison is it's a cycle. While we may feel great about ourselves and our lives right now, it's never enough, is it? So we keep comparing, trying to measure up ourselves against others, and eventually we just end up getting jealous, and the cycle continues. It never stops. And this, guys, is where jealousy, it gets a little tricky, because it doesn't just impact us. It impacts our relationships with other people. When we're jealous of someone, we might keep our distance from them. We may even avoid them. We might even start talking about them behind their backs. We tear them down and make ourselves feel better. And eventually, we stop being able to be happy for them at all. We stop being able to celebrate the good things in their lives because it only reminds us of what's missing in our lives. That's what jealousy does, guys. It keeps us from celebrating the good things around us, both in our lives and in the lives of the people around us. And for me, that's just not the kind of life I want. And I don't want that for you guys either. See, I don't want to be unhappy simply because my life doesn't measure up to someone else's life. I don't want to be the kind of friend or family member or teammate or member of a small group that can't be happy for someone else or myself. So what do we do about this? How do we keep ourselves from letting jealousy and comparison change the way we see ourselves and others? Well, luckily for us, people have been dealing with this whole jealousy thing for thousands of years. I want to take a look today at a couple of guys named David and Saul. And one of these guys really struggled with jealousy. Let me set this up for you. Let me paint a picture here. Saul is the current king of Israel, and David is just a shepherd boy, okay? He's kind of a nobody. Being a shepherd was not a career that you aspired to. It was just something you ended up doing. It was not a glamorous job. So David is a little shepherd's boy, and Saul is king of Israel. Now Saul and his army, the army of Israel, went to battle, and they went to battle the Philistines. Now, oftentimes what would happen, instead of both armies just colliding and a lot of people dying, they would just send out their best fighter. Each army would send out their best fighter. They would fight to the death, and whoever won, that army and that nation would win. So that's kind of what happened here. They were going to send out two guys to fight to the death, and the Philistines send out a guy named Goliath. Now, the Bible describes this guy as a giant, an actual giant. The Bible says that he was over 9 feet tall, and it describes his armor. This dude was massive. He came out and he just started taunting Israel and taunting their God and was like, come on, somebody come fight me. But nobody in Saul's army wanted to go out and fight this guy. But one day David shows up. You know, he's bringing food to his brothers. He was young and just not thought of very highly, so much so that they didn't even want him in the army. They were like, just stay tending sheep, just stay where you're at. But he shows up and brings them some food, and he sees Goliath taunting Israel and taunting their God, and basically shows up and says, oh, heck no, like, someone going to do something about this? So to make a long story short, David goes out there with a slingshot and a rock and flings it, and it hits Goliath in the head, knocks him out, and David goes over and takes his sword and cuts off his head. Yes, that is in the Bible. You should totally go read it. It's crazy. But after that, news of this spreads. David becomes popular and famous very quickly. And so the nation of Israel, their army won, and they're returning home. And there's a big parade. Everyone's excited. They're partying. They're cheering them on. And as they come into town, it says that the crowds were singing a song that they had made up, a song that said, Saul has killed his thousands, which obviously Saul liked hearing. But then the second line of that song was, but David has killed tens of thousands. That obviously did not set well with Saul and made him pretty angry. And that's where I want to pick the story up. This made Saul very angry. What's this? He said. They credit David with 10,000s and me with only thousands. Next, they'll be making him king. So from that time on, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. Saul's jealousy got so bad, he even tried to kill David multiple times. Saul was happy with his life and even with his relationship with David until he started comparing himself to David. That comparison led to jealousy, and that jealousy changed everything. It changed Saul. It changed his relationship with David. It even consumed a big part of Saul's life. Saul spent so much of his reign as king thinking of ways to hurt David. Now, I know that's a dramatic story, but that's what jealousy has the power to do, to change the way we see what we have, to destroy our relationship with other people, and to kill our ability to celebrate the good things happening in our lives and in the lives of the people around us. When we compare ourselves to other people, we end up not celebrating others or ourselves in the process. I want to take a look real quick at a verse in Proverbs. It says, a heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. Now, envy is just another way to say jealousy. And the writer of Proverbs here is saying that it has the potential to rot or break down your bones. Of course, not literally. I mean, that would be crazy. You'd like jealous falling apart. He's simply trying to paint a picture here that says jealousy impacts our lives from the inside out. But think about your bones for just a second. They're a pretty important part of your body, right? They're the core of what holds us up. They're what make the shape of you. The writer of Proverbs is painting a pretty graphic picture here that envy hits us at the core of who we are. Jealousy rots you to your core. It decays and it breaks down. It eats away at you. When you compare your life to someone else, the jealousy you feel eats away at you. It can cause the way you see yourself to break down. It can even rot your ability to celebrate anything good. See, that's what happened to Saul. Jealousy rotted everything in his life. It consumed him so much so that he could barely even lead his nation. But David kept his heart at peace. And as the proverb tells us, that's what gives life to our body. See, jealousy breaks down, but peace builds up our bodies. So even though David was hurt by Saul's jealousy, he never went down the road of comparison with Saul. See, David kept his eye on what was good in his life, and it helped him stay at peace. And the same can be true for you and me. When we keep our eyes focused on what we do have, we'll find more peace. When we stop focusing on what others have, we'll be better able to enjoy the good in our lives and in theirs as well. We can appreciate the great things happening in other people's lives and our lives as well. When we stop comparing, we can better celebrate others and ourselves. So, how do we avoid comparison and jealousy and choose to celebrate others and ourselves instead? Well, I think we can begin by doing two things. Number one, start with you. Think about what you do have. Celebrate the things that are in your life that are good. Be thankful for the things that you have. Make a list of 5 things every day and just rattle off some things that you're thankful for. Number two, celebrate someone else. And I don't mean just anybody else. We're going to make it a little challenging for us. I think you should find someone that you're jealous of. Maybe it's someone at school and it's how well they do at school, and you're kind of jealous of how smart they seem to be compared to you. Or perhaps it's a friend and they're funny, they're popular, and you kind of wish you were on their same level. Find someone that you're jealous of and celebrate them. Celebrate something in their life that's going good. Compliment them. Tell them that they are funny. Or like, hey, have you ever noticed that you're really good at school? Like that's really cool. So this week, whatever you choose to do, take a step to celebrate the good in your life and the lives of the people around you. Because when we stop comparing, we can better celebrate others and ourselves. We know it's easy to talk about this here at church or online, but it's not as simple to put into real life, to put into actions. So I encourage you to talk to someone about this. If you're experiencing any kind of jealousy, talk with someone. Talk with your friend, your parents, a small group leader. If you're watching this and you're not a part of a small group, you don't have a small group leader, or you're not sure, then please click the link below and we would love to get you signed up with a group. As I leave you guys today, I want to leave you with this one question. What's one thing or person I can celebrate? Just one thing, one person you can celebrate this week. Love you guys. Thank you for watching, and we will see you later.